Hello and welcome into a special Saturday, championship Saturday, that is, edition of Between the Hedges. Hope y'all are getting ready for and currently watching some of the games that are going on. And I know we're getting excited for one in particular, obviously. How are you doing today, Dad?
Doing good, doing good. It's another good Saturday for some college football, and one where um, a lot's still a lot of things are going to be decided. A lot of big games, a lot of people's hopes and dreams will probably get crushed today.
And you'd like to be the dream crusher rather than the one getting their
Exa
dreams crushed.
exactly. Not to change the subject or anything, but Matthew just sent us a picture. Yeah, as you can see, Matthew's not with us today. That's because his little rear end is um, at the Georgia Dome. I mean, at the Mercedes-Benz at the SEC championship
Yeah.
game. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but he just sent this picture. Oh, it's not working. Anyway, he got himself some pretty good seats from the looks of the picture.
Oh yeah. We uh we actually were talking about that earlier in the week when tickets went on sale, and I was this close to joining him there this week, but he pulled the trigger and I didn't. So good for him. You know, that's his first. It would have been my first SEC championship. So that's one of those things that you definitely want to, as a SEC fan, you want to check that off your bucket list. So I'm glad that he's there and he's going to get to take this in live. We've had some good games this season that, I've been to live that we've talked about, and there's been some, that would not have been good to be at live, but that's just the nature of this new schedule and what's been a tougher road for Georgia this season, but here we are again. Fourth straight SEC championship game. So bring it on.
And hopefully we take it to Texas again today. Rematch of the earlier regular season game. Um, don't know that we'll quite duplicate the defense. It sure will be nice though if we do that because I think I remember if I remember right, we sacked their quarterback like 7 times in this game,
That was our
and
season high.
that will definitely be a recipe for success if we can duplicate that feat today. And we'll come away SEC champions and more than likely secure a top four, you know, ranking and seeding in the college football playoff at that point. So
Yeah.
a lot to a lot to win, you know, a lot's on the table and you just got to go get it.
Oh yeah. Trophies on the line today, and you've heard Kirby Smart talk in years past, and even this year, he still remains adamant, even with playoff expansion, that this is the trophy that they set their eyes on first. It's still going to be the number one goal every season. Is winning this game. Um,
Yeah. And that's the reason why yeah, I think it was a bunch of bull crap. People talk about, oh, do you really want to go in the SEC championship and play that game? I know one person that wasn't considering that,
it was
and that's
Kirby.
our head coach.
Yeah.
He was like, "Get me in the game. If we win that, that just starts us off in a better light for the games to come after that."
Well, and like you said, it's for the SEC and the Big Ten, it's almost always going to be an automatic top four seed. So you want to be in that game and you want to win that game, but also for the loser of the game, you're almost guaranteed to get in as well. So
Not always, as we found out just last year.
Well, yeah, with the 14 model, yeah, we did get gypped last season, but
That was last year. Let's talk about this year, right?
right, yeah, that's in the past. There's a new trophy on the line today, and I think it's I'll agree with you. I think it's also hard to expect the same result and the same energy and physicality out of our defense. They just wreaked havoc in Texas earlier in the season. But what I do expect to be the same is our attention to detail and our execution for this game. Um, Kirby, after we played Auburn in the regular season, his first SEC championship, what was that, 2017, 2018? Um, he said after that game, we got destroyed by Auburn. He said, circle that team, let's watch the film. He told his staff this, we're going to play that team again in December. Well, I haven't heard this to be confirmed, but I would imagine he said the same thing about Texas, just the nature of this Texas team, how physical they are, how experienced they are. And we talk about their weaker SEC schedule that they've had to start. That is true. They did get what turned out to be one of the weakest SEC schedules in a long time, but
They played
you don't know
to
that going into
piggyback on
this.
that. Yeah, you don't know that going into it, but is after all the results are in, they played six of the bottom seven teams in the SEC record wise.
And
Six,
their one game against somebody not of those bottom seven was us, and they lost.
well, no, I mean six. They would have two other games, and so it was us and somebody else. I can't remember who, but anyway, we were the top team that they played, of course, and lost, but still to end up playing six of your eight game regular season SEC schedule are six of the seven worst teams in the league record wise.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's still an SEC schedule, but by contrast, we played four of the top six, I think, four of the top five, something like that.
Yeah, we had to because we had the second hardest schedule in America.
So, you know, one of these things is definitely not like the other.
Yeah. And that's what gives me confidence today as a Georgia fan. I've heard a lot this week and I've heard a lot since all season, just from people out there. You talk to people, you run into people, they're like, "Oh, Georgia sucks this year." I'm like, "No, we don't. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you nuts? Are you watching the games?" Because just because Georgia's had the toughest schedule in its history does not mean that we suck. Does not mean that the Carson Beck has sucked. He has played out of his mind most of the year, and thank God we've had him because had we not, we wouldn't be in this position. He
Well, he's
willed us
definitely
back.
moved past his mid-season funk that he was in. I'll
Yeah, and
admit
that,
he had some rough games there for a stretch. Anybody would admit that, but these last three games, I think he's thrown like 11 or 12 touchdown passes and zero picks.
yeah,
So, um, I know for sure we don't win against Tennessee or Georgia Tech if he's not at quarterback.
we probably don't win the Texas game, and we definitely don't come back on Alabama without him.
So, I'm glad he's on the good guys sideline. Um, and I hope he backs up, what he's done the last, I guess, three or four games and continues that today against Texas because Texas will be a stiffer test.
Oh yeah, for sure. This Texas team presents a great challenge for us this season because they do a couple of things well that we've struggled with, which is throw the deep ball and, force you to tackle well on the perimeter. We've had trouble with
Tackling. There's that
both of
word,
those,
tackle.
which
Tackle, tackle, tackle.
You would not think that that would be an issue with a Kirby Smart team, but that just goes to show you how banged up we've been and how young we are as a team. Because they meaning Kirby and his staff, they've had to really like pull these guys along this season. It's been a long season where we're used to in years past getting a lot of other players in the game. This has been more of a tighter rotation this season. We're playing a lot of the same guys, and it's because we're so young. And here we are. We're still here, you know. We're knocking on the door of Florida's SEC championship appearance run that they made in the 90s. Where if we go to it next year, it'll be five straight. Think about that. That's amazing. A lot of people say that's the best Florida team ever. Was that Florida's team from the 90s?
Yeah,
So
but I lived through that and watched that firsthand. And if you'd asked me here in the 2020s if we would duplicate that, Pete, I would have thought you were smoking something, you know. So here we are, though. We're on the brink of it now. And, not to jump too far ahead, but, Georgia takes care of business today, SEC champion, top four seed, first round bye. So you're basically, what is it? You got to win 3 games for a national championship from that point. Um, Assuming things go well and they win them 3 out of 4 years.
that would be, yeah, we haven't even gone there yet because this season's been
Right.
so
So
up and down.
it's a little early to talk, but just to think about that possibility, I mean, that's amazing. And the only year you didn't do it is one that arguably you got screwed out of a chance to do it. And you more than likely could have done the three-peat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've said this numerous times, and I don't think we'll ever stop saying it, but if you put Georgia in that playoff last year, we win the national championship, hands down. And there's numbers out there to prove what I'm saying. It's not just me being the fan and rose-colored glasses on. Um, but yeah, 3 out of 4, that's a dynasty, okay? And that's a hell of a run at any level of sports.
Mhm.
So that is top notch. If we're able to,
Enjoy it while it lasts,
yeah.
because
And
you know,
step one is today. You got to take care of business today. Because if
yeah,
while I do think there's an advantage to hosting the first round, that's one more game you got to play. That's one more game that you know, you could have somebody important get banged up, and it's just another game in this long battle or long war of attrition, another battle in the war here, and it just you want less,
less
you want
chances to get
less
people hurt,
chances.
and less chances to lose a game. Honestly,
Yeah.
if you're playing the games, we've learned this season, you play the games for a reason. Just about anybody can be upset at any given game this year.
Oh yeah, this year's
So
wide open as it's ever been. Which that makes it fun. That's
yeah.
fun.
Well, score update: Arizona State's tacked on another touchdown since we started. It's now 45-10. So, and they are in the
Bye bye.
fourth.
Bye bye to the Cyclones.
They are in the fourth quarter now, about 13 minutes left. So, Arizona State will be punching their ticket, it looks like, as
So
the
that
Big 12 champion, representative.
right. And for their first year in the Big 12. So good for them. It was kind of a wild
All the
ending of it
four major
there,
conferences have chances of first year winners being their champions this year. You got Arizona State, if Texas wins today, if Oregon wins the Big Ten, and then SMU and the ACC. That'd
which
be
I think that's all the favorites today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that is.
So if it's all chalk, we're looking at the four major conferences having brand new representatives being their champion.
First year, you know, teams in the conference winning them.
Now, I don't, again, this isn't just me being the rose-colored glasses on Georgia fan that I am, but I don't agree with Georgia being an underdog. We went to Texas. We were a 3-point underdog. We smashed them.
Well,
We're in
that's just
Atlanta.
about getting money on even either side.
Yeah, it's all about money because we're in Atlanta now. You've already seen this movie once. If we can duplicate some of those things, obviously, like I said, we're not going to duplicate everything that we did 2 months ago, but if we can duplicate some of them, I think we have a really good shot of
Hopefully, the
winning
sequel
again.
is as fun as the first one.
It definitely was as a Georgia fan. I mean, I know Texas fans out there that it wasn't fun because we came in and took over your trap, but
I don't really care if they had fun or not, to be honest with you.
yeah,
It was fun for me. That's the point.
that's what matters, right?
That's what matters.
It's got to be fun for me. Yeah, if it's not fun for me, and this is the third time this season where it's not fun for me, y'all might not hear from me for a little bit. Just saying.
So I think both of us would agree our tackling is paramount. You know, Texas has gotten their running game going a good bit lately.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, our run defense the last couple of games has been suspect to say the least. So I think we got to stop the run and get after the quarterback and tackle when we have a chance to make a tackle, especially in the backfield. Don't let them slip away.
make the tackle. Yeah,
Contain him until you, even if you can get two or three buddies to help get him to the ground, but don't let them slip out of your fingertips when you got a chance to make a play for a loss.
yeah. Yeah, those are all, really huge keys. I'll add one to that, and it's the one that we won this stat when we went to Texas, and that was the turnover margin.
Barely.
Barely.
We created four turnovers.
And we gave away three, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So but see, that was a lot of people would say that was the difference in the ball game because they cashed in one of those turnovers immediately for a touchdown that they got from us, that pick, right? That everybody got all up in arms about, and I think that's the biggest blown call and biggest that was the worst call of the entire season. But
It was the
anyway,
worst overturn call in the season, put it that way. The call that they made originally was right,
was correct.
but
Yeah.
then they overturned it. That's what made it the worst call in the season. That's at least in the SEC.
No, I think I've watched a lot of football this season. I think that was the worst call, like overturned call of the entire year. And
I wonder what the Texas fans are going to throw on the field today if they don't get their way today. They're going to
well,
throw water bottles again.
yeah, well, Barstool UGA was like, "Hey, Texas fans, are you gonna basically pose that same thing? They're like, are you gonna throw water bottles today? We hope you are, meaning, we win the game." So that was kind
Yeah,
of
let's give
funny.
them a reason for wanting to throw something, right?
Yeah, yeah. If there's a reason for it, then fine, okay. But that wasn't a reason for it.
So how do you give me a score prediction? How do you see it turning out today with Georgia, Texas?
Yeah, I've thought about this actually a lot this week because I've had a lot of people ask me. And believe it or not, for those of you who don't know, my wife's not the biggest football fan that there is. She's coming along because she's married to me. But she actually asked me last night. She goes, "Okay, everybody was asking. I was asking everybody at work, which I'm proud of. She's talking about it with people at work." patients and everything. And she said the biggest question of the day has been, what's the score prediction? Everybody's, and she said everybody that she talked to was giving her, these really close score lines. And I was like, well, that brings up a good point. I think a lot of people, the vast majority of fans, think that the games are going to be very close because these are the high profile games and they're, oh, it's so narrow, and that may be true.
because it's
I'm
the championship of the league. It's supposedly the two best teams in the league, right? So
right.
they should battle to close game usually.
They should, and Vegas obviously thinks the same thing, and then that may be what happens here. Long story short, I say my prediction, we won by 15 last time, and it really shouldn't have been that close. I say we pull out a 10-point victory. We win by 2 scores today. I'll go if you want to score, I'll say 34-24. Um that's what I've settled on. That feels right to me. I think Texas may have the early lead and we have to come back and win this game. But I think we do win it by 10.
I got you. I could see that playing out that way. I could agree with that. Um, but I think I'm going to lean more towards the other way of it being a kind of a slugfest and a closer game. I don't know that you can count on, well, at least I hope Carson Beck doesn't throw three interceptions again. And, you know, will we be able to create three or four turnovers again? I mean, chances are pretty unlikely. Um, but to your point, if we had taken care of the ball when we had it against them the last time, we probably would have beaten them by 30 points instead of 15.
Hmm.
Because we got some turnovers and a couple of times I think we turned it right back over of it, with the interceptions. But anyway, I'm gonna say something along the lines of like 28-21, something like that. Georgia
I went
winning, of course.
I went back and forth between, saying it would be a touchdown and 10 points just because of what you're saying. You can't expect the same amount of turnovers created, although these SEC championship games recently, and we've been a part of them,
Are
they've
are
got,
lopsided, a lot of
well,
them.
they get lopsided, or when they're really tight, like last year against Alabama, there were several turnovers in the game. Like it got kind of sloppy at certain points,
Yeah, that's true. Hey,
So
we got somebody chiming in on the chat. You see that?
I got you. Go Dogs. It's BLST. We got to catch the ball and create explosive plays. Yes, sir.
Amen. Amen. I hope we
On
do both.
offense. Yeah. Oh, and we were talking about, thanks for the comment, BLST. Keep it up. Um, we appreciate you tuning in. But that brings up another point that we talked about drops. I That was just confirmed again on game day. We still lead the nation in drops. So that is a very, very big deal this season. And that goes back to Carson Beck and why he was playing so bad for that 6 game stretch. It's not the what, it's the why. And Tim Tebow just talked about it on SEC Nation. He said the why is because he hasn't trusted his receivers this year and he's been pressing some. So when you press, you make mistakes. You feel like you
Well,
got to wear the
you can't
Superman
really
cape.
blame him when he's making great throws,
Right.
hitting guys that in the hands with the ball,
And they're just tipping it up in the air, and that's
and
perfect
it
for a
gets and he
DB.
gets an interception, or best case scenario they just drop it. It's incomplete when it should have been a 35-yard pass or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. So, all of these things, turnovers, drop passes, tackling,
It all adds
um,
up to just playing a clean game, basically.
which is what we're saying. It needs to be our cleanest game of the season. Because I do respect Texas. I don't think they're just going to roll over in this game. I respect Sark. He's a really good coach. That's a really good team across from us, and you better come and do a game. And Kirby knows that. Kirby's been preaching that all season, but I think going back to one of my earlier points, Kirby's had this game circled all season. This is the one that he's wanted to win so bad because he's actually 2-5 or 2-4 in these games coming into this game. So he wants to win this game as bad as anybody out there.
Oh, he always wants to win an SEC championship. I mean, it goes down in history. I mean, regardless of what else you do that season, you always can claim you were the SEC champion, and that means something.
Yeah. And to get, his third one and for it to be our fourth straight appearance, you want to the model with Alabama in the past was you win the SEC championship, you win the national championship, or you've got a very good shot, right? So, I
And I
mean, you
think
can,
that still holds.
yeah. And as we go on with this expanded playoff, which we can get into this a little bit, I think we'll expand a little bit further because this is a 1 year deal with this model, but it will be even more important moving forward because the conference champions are going to be, if it expands even further, rewarded more, I think. So, um, we got BLST coming. He said, hope we see Ellis Robinson today. Yeah, that's actually a possibility. So, I hope we do too, man. He's such a dynamic back.
Mhm. Defensive back,
Yep.
true freshman. Um, we haven't seen a lot of him, but I think we may see more today because I think we've had a couple of our one key DB that has decided to go in the portal, and I'm not sure he's actually still even with the team.
Yeah, that was Humphreys, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So his opportunity may be right in front of his face, and hopefully he goes out there and shines today.
Yeah, Ellis Robinson's a dude, so that's actually exciting for me. They'll probably say on the broadcast, that'll be a weakness for Georgia because he's a freshman. I disagree. Ellis Robinson is awesome, so I think that helps us today.
All right, so we both agree. We think, of course, we think Georgia's going to win today and um, take care of business. Let's move. What do you think about the Big Ten championship? That's the next game on the slate. You
Yeah,
got
because
Oregon and Penn State snuck their way in due to Ohio State losing last week, but
oh,
Oregon's favored by 3.5 on this.
that might be the most puzzling line of the whole day is why Penn State is only a 3.5 point dog today. Because if you look at it, let's look at this objectively. Oregon hadn't lost this year. They beat Ohio State. Penn State lost to Ohio State at home. And yeah, this game's in Indiana, which is, way closer to Penn State than it is Oregon, but that hasn't seemed to matter this year. Oregon's just that team. They're finding ways to win. Um, I mean, I think our guy Dan Lanning, has his team ready to go. They're going to be the more physical team. They're the more well-rounded team. They've got the better quarterback. They got the better skill position guys. I think Oregon makes this is yeah, I don't think it's the as lopsided as the Big 12 championship is looking right now, but I think this one gets kind of lopsided. And then I think Penn State's hanging on by a thread for a playoff spot. That's what I think because they have
Hmm,
such a poor showing today.
that's interesting if that happens because right now they're what third?
Yeah, I mean
right there.
they'll stay in, but I think they'll crater to not even hosting a first round game.
That'll be interesting if that happens. Yeah, that is an interesting point you make about the line. You would think Oregon would be favored by much more. But like I said, those lines are designed to get money coming in on both sides. So,
They want you betting Penn State today. That's what it tells me.
but I agree. I think Oregon's going to end up pulling away and winning it and making a lot more plays. Um, but Penn State's the type of team where they could surprise you, but I'll be honest, I have zero faith in James Franklin in big games.
Yeah. He's now what 1-12 in big games, meaning against what top 10 teams.
Well, yeah, I think that's mainly been, Ohio State and Michigan for him,
What?
but I think you may end up adding Oregon to that list too after
Yeah.
today. So,
Because Oregon's that type of team now, and I think they, will have a pretty good hold on that conference moving forward. I think that today's just the beginning for them. So yeah, give me Oregon. Even if it doesn't get ugly, I still think Oregon finds a way to win the game today.
and then to finish it up, going on at the same time as that game, you got Clemson taking on SMU for the ACC championship.
Yeah,
And SMU's the favorite by 2.5.
yeah, most of these lines are very, very close, which kind of speaks to what we were talking about earlier, the parity, how any given day, you know, anybody can get upset. I mean, we saw Georgia go 8 overtimes with Georgia Tech last week. I was there. So, it's yeah, and SMU's had a great season. I think they're on fire. I love a lot about what they do, actually, because I've watched them a couple of times this season. I love how the moxie that they have, and it comes from the coach, and it just oozes down into the rest of the team. So I I really think that if you're an Alabama fan, or if you're a Miami fan, or if you're anybody that's sitting there on the bubble as an at-large, you're rooting for SMU today because that's the path of least resistance. Um, but I think I'm going to go with Dabo and Clemson and the experience getting ready for these games. They've owned that conference, and I think they create some chaos today by winning and not winning by just an inch. Think they
You think they take it to them?
I think they take it to them a little bit. I'm not gonna say, a blowout 30 points, but it might be a two score, three score type game.
Interesting. That would be fun. That would be fun to watch. And I kind of, I'll be honest, I haven't watched much of SMU myself. I mean, even with them being, I guess, ranked as a top five team, I'm not really sure they deserve to be there. If I watch some of that game tonight, it'd probably be the first of them that I've seen. But um, I think there's something to be said, the point you made about Clemson's used to being in this position, playing for the ACC championship. Um, and um, I think they'll draw on that too and be ready. It's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know because you don't know it, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and SMU's in that position because, of course, this is the first year they're in the ACC. So I could see that happening with Clemson now. If Clemson does pull that out, does SMU fall all the way out, or will they
That's
still
the
make it?
that's the question then, because so they're ranked 8, but they would get that 4 seed, right? Or no, the 3 seed right now because Boise State is
Well,
slotted
assuming
in.
they win the ACC, that's where they would be slotted.
Right. So would they fall? I mean, being ranked eight, it matters where you're ranked first, and then they'll seed you, right?
Mm,
So
correct.
if number
Well, see,
17
if
in the
they're not the ACC champion, you know they're not going to get that top four seed.
right, they're not an automatic
Well, all
bid.
that matters is if they lose to a lower ranked Clemson team today, and there are eight, and I think Clemson's like 17 or something.
They're 17. Yeah.
So you
I
lose, do
I
they
think
even stay in? I don't think they do.
it depends on how close it is.
All
I
right, so
think
if it's a 14-point game, Clemson wins by 14, two touchdowns.
I mean if that's the closest they ever get, then I think that's enough to say even I think it might be enough to
See, I
say
think some of these people on the bubble probably should root for Clemson because Clemson would then get the ACC bid, and I think that would knock, SMU. I think it possibly could knock SMU totally out, even being 11-2 at that point.
well, yeah, because then you got to look at the strength of schedule, which theirs isn't good. They didn't play the best teams in the ACC. None of the top four of the ACC did that, which was strange. They None of them played anybody worth a crap except Clemson played us, and um, they had a couple of other out of conference games. Don't get me wrong, that were good, but yeah, I mean, if it's a
It's
14
just gonna
point,
that's gonna be the most interesting flip of a game to me.
that one has the most on it.
Depending on who wins it, how the game looks, blah blah blah, and then where the two participants get ranked. You know, well, I guess it doesn't matter for the winner. It doesn't matter where you're ranked.
The
If you
winner's
win
in,
it, the winner's in. Um,
and
but
you
the
would get
loser,
one through four, or you get 12. Or well, I mean you
get
could
anywhere.
yeah, I mean you could slot it in anywhere, but I think SMU gets dropped if they lose to be they will be ranked 12th, and then it's up to the committee to decide their seating based on who's in front of them and behind them at that point.
No, the committee only decides their ranking. The seeding
Right, but
happens once you see where everybody's ranked and who won the championship games, and then the seeding falls automatically after that.
right. I mean
It
that's
just
what
fills
I'm
in.
yeah.
But, if they're ranked 12 or 13 after losing today, that means Clemson's the only one from the ACC. Now, granted, I think either way, if SMU wins, Clemson loses, Clemson's not going to make it.
No, Clemson's out.
So I think the ACC is just stuck with the one team in.
Yeah. Yeah, Clemson's only hope is winning today. SMU better win, otherwise the conversation that we're having now kind of starts
Yeah.
because then
And
it
who takes advantage of those?
well
Who
the
gets
commit
to jump up then?
right, and the committee's already said you lose that second game, ACC, now we're watching you because they've already said that about Miami. Because then there's holes to poke all through the resume. And that's when teams like South Carolina say Clemson wins. Then South Carolina has an argument. We beat the ACC champ on their field last week. So,
Yeah, but still, to me, I don't think South Carolina is the most deserving 9-3 SEC team.
no,
My opinion.
they have a compelling argument. I think what we
I
showed
don't think they
last,
really do.
well,
I
what we
think the
showed,
media has leached onto it and driven it to make people think that. But if you dissect the actual games and the numbers and stuff like that, it's either Alabama or Ole Miss, one of those two.
and we put up the graphic last week about or earlier in the week
South
about
Carolina out of that trio is the first one out of that trio, no matter which way you slice it.
yeah,
To me, that's my opinion.
they're just the hottest team right now,
They're
and
the hottest team. I'll give you that. They've won 6 games in a row. Big whoop. We've won 12 games in a row before. when we've gone undefeated and, you know, rate the whole regular seasons. I get it. Winning 6 games is better than losing 6 games. But that doesn't it doesn't say if you win 6 games in a row at the end of the season, you get an automatic bid to the college football playoff. No.
No, no.
If they wanted to make sure they punched their ticket, they should have beat LSU. They should have beat Ole Miss. They should have beat who was their third? Oh, was it Alabama? Yeah,
Hmm.
they should have held on and beat Alabama. They had Alabama on the ropes.
They should have beat
If they would
Alabama.
have won
That's
that game, there's no doubt in my mind they're sitting there in this playoff
well,
over Alabama because Alabama's the one that's in right now.
right. Well, and Alabama's just barely in. I think
But
if
I'm
South,
saying if you flip that one game where they lost by 2 points, they were winning most of that game.
yeah.
And if they hold on and they win that game, they're the ones in the Alabama seat right now, and Alabama's in their seat or worse because they would have another loss
See, what I don't understand is why Alabama's in the catbird seat. I get the whole three and
because they've
one.
had better wins
I get
and
the
they've
whole
played
three and
better.
yeah, the 3-1
But
against.
I mean, in our last video, I told you what my thoughts were. I think the one that should be in that catbird seat is Ole Miss.
I mean, that what you showed us last week or Sunday, um, that kind of convinced me. It's like, well, you look at all of this, point differential, common opponents, strength of schedule, head to head, all of that stuff has to matter. And Ole
And
Miss
they're the
has got,
ones, according to the committee, that are in third place out of those three teams.
which that's bizarre.
That doesn't make sense to me at
Yeah,
all. They got
no,
Alabama first, then South Carolina, then Ole Miss. I'm like, that's backwards.
yeah. Should be Ole Miss, Alabama, South Carolina.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it would be fun to watch South Carolina in it. And with their first round matchup, I think they'd probably win depending on who they get,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially if they match up like against a Indiana
Which that's who we're
or
slotted
or or
against right
even
now.
or even Penn State.
Yeah,
I think South Carolina would give them both a heck of a game, or Arizona State.
yeah, yeah. You can pretty much throw out
Well,
those two
Arizona
teams.
State will get. Are they're in line to get a bye or no?
No,
No, because they're too low. They're the lowest ranked. They'll be the lowest ranked conference champion more than likely.
which means they get the 12 seed, which is kind of crazy.
So
That's just bizarre to me. But anyway,
yeah, they got to do some tweaking on the format, if you ask me, just
you
to make
should
it.
you should reseed or re-rank everybody after championship weekend, whatever you want to call it.
Well,
It
they
should
do that. They
it
do that
but
already.
they said
I,
those cluster of teams that won't change.
yeah, I don't see how you do that. I,
They're
I,
like
I, I
these three teams, these four
that guy
teams aren't
doesn't come
moving.
across as very knowledgeable to me when he gets interviewed on those, rankings release shows.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
like,
I agree, and he's the AD at Michigan, and he just got an extension. So, I mean, I don't know how good of an AD he is. That's not what we're saying, but to be the chair of the committee, you've got to be able to articulate and sound more knowledgeable about what you're talking about. And I think that just went right over his head when Reese asked him that
yeah.
question.
See, to me, the biggest thing they got to change is giving the four Power Four champions, the highest ranked ones, the automatic 1 through 4 seeds. I don't that shouldn't happen.
Just everybody should just however you're ranked 1 through 12. That's how you're seated.
Exactly. Just keep it simple. Stupid.
Yeah, and they were also I hate to keep bringing up other, but these people get paid to be analysts, right? So I'm going to talk about them, what they think too. On SEC Nation, um, Tim Tebow, who, he's not a Georgia guy, but I think he has a lot of valid points about football because he's a very smart football guy. He was very good at it. He said, is it about data? Is it about resume and wins and losses, or is it about how you look? Is it about head to head? Is it about, there's not enough clarity about what's first, second, third, fourth in the order of, because they say all these different data points are what they rank you based off of, but what is the most important and why is each team being ranked the way that they are? I don't think we get enough of that. So there's a lot of misconception and misinformation and people making, a lot of statements about teams that, we just don't know everything. We don't have the full story. So that's just my 2 cents worth as well. It's got to change. I think it will change
Yeah,
because
I think it will.
depending on how tomorrow goes, and it's tomorrow at noon.
Yeah.
Um, Depending on how tomorrow goes, you've already got the ACC commissioner up in arms. Greg Sankey in the SEC, he might
Oh,
get
he's
a
not
little
liking it
hot.
a bit. He's not
He
liking it at all. The
he's a
way
little
this is
hot,
shaking out so far.
and you haven't heard anything out of the Big Ten, but that's because they've been kind of the conference that this is
Beneficiaries.
right. And then you've got the Big 12 who's like, hey, what the heck, man? We've got,
Well, the Big 12 made their own mess.
and
I
then
mean,
you've got
with the
this.
way they've played on the field, they've earned what they've gotten this year so far.
This is true. You had to go to like a fourth tiebreaker to figure out who gets in the championship game out there. But, and then you've got the group of five. And I don't want this to seem like, taking a dump on the group of five. I'm not. But Boise State is a great story. Their running back, he's amazing, right? He's a great kid. I watched his post-game interview last night after them winning. He's a great dude. He seems like a 10 out of 10. That program seems like a great program. Their coach seems like a 10 out of 10 as a man. But like you can't sit here and tell me that because they're the highest ranked group of five and they're ranked higher than the Big 12 champ's going to be, that they should get a bye.
That's
That
just the way it's going to work out because of the Big 12 imploding the way they did.
because they're just going to sit home and they're going to watch the first round and then they're going to invite somebody, it's going to be a neutral site game, yes, but they're going to be the higher seed, the favorite, so to speak, to move on.
No, I bet you they won't be the favorite.
Well, no, I don't think Vegas will make them the favorite, but they're the better seed, so they should win, right? And that's kind of what I'm saying. And I think whoever gets to play Boise State and whoever gets to play the Big 12 champ and the ACC champ, congrats to you because you just had an easier path to the semifinals.
Well, the
That's
good
just,
part about it is we'll know all the answers by noon tomorrow, or a little after noon tomorrow.
yeah.
And I guess we may just jump back on here tomorrow afternoon after that's released and sum it up and give our takes on it and everything then at that point, because then we'll actually have concrete information to go off of.
Yeah, this is true. I think we should do that. We did it. I was on here by myself, live last year doing it. So
So,
I I think we
but
should be on here at least right after it's over.
yeah. So anyway, I think that a good point to wrap it up for this one and get ready to go watch. Yeah, it looks like there's less than 2 minutes to go in this Big 12 champions 45-19. So congrats, Arizona State.
Ouch.
And we were getting ready to kick off Georgia, Texas next up. They're on deck. So we're gonna let you go. Go root for the dogs and
Yep.
wait and see how things shake out the rest of the evening and tomorrow for the release of the playoff seedings. and rankings,
Hmm.
two different things.
Yep.
See where we're ranked, and then how it falls to where we're seated.
I don't care as long as we win the game. We're gonna be 1 through 4. I don't care. Just win.
So yeah, that's the name of the game. Just win.
Just win,
So
baby.
just
Just
win,
win.
baby. So anyway, I guess I'll be in touch with you during the game, and
Yeah.
we'll we'll do it again tomorrow at some point.
Yep. That sounds good. Well, thank y'all for tuning in today and anytime that you do. And thank you for the comments today, BLST. Shout out to you again. Appreciate it, man. And thank you
You like
for,
it? Subscribe,
yeah, give us a like, give us a subscribe,
share it.
share it. We definitely want to keep doing this. We love doing this. It's always fun. And it makes it more fun when we have participation, right? So, thank y'all. Y'all go enjoy the game, go root on the dogs, and we'll see you again at some point tomorrow. And as always, go dogs.
Go Dogs.